This is CGTN, China Global Television Network.
Hostilities flare up in Gaza with rocket attacks and airstrikes. South Africa's political parties wind up their campaigns as the country prepares for national elections. And Mozambique officials declare a cholera outbreak in the wake of Cyclone Kenneth. Hello and a warm welcome to Africa Live on CGTN. I'm Lindy Mtongana in Nairobi. Also coming up this half hour.
If no be you, then tell me who. Them go sempe.
Nigerian artist Tiwa Savage signs with Universal Music Group. In our top story, Gaza militants fired dozens of rockets into Israel on Saturday as an Israeli airstrike killed one Palestinian gunman after hostilities flared up across the border for a second day. Israel hit Gaza with airstrikes and tank fire after Palestinian militants fired more than 90 rockets towards Israel. The military claims it had targeted rocket launchers and Hamas posts. The escalation began on Friday when two Israeli soldiers were wounded by Gaza gunfire near the border. A retaliatory Israeli airstrike killed two militants from the Islamist Hamas group that governs Gaza. Two other Palestinians protesting near the frontier were also killed by Israeli forces. Meanwhile, mourners have gathered for a funeral in Gaza to bury those killed by an Israeli airstrike. The Gaza Health Ministry says 6 Palestinians were wounded. Residents identified 2 of them as militants and the rest as civilians. The Palestinian Education Ministry is evacuating schools in areas under Israeli bombardment.
We already knew that the Hamas want, to react about the two terrorists that killed yesterday. So we knew something will happen. We didn't know the time, we didn't know where or when, but we knew it will happen. And it happened at 10 o'clock 15, something like this. They started to shoot all around the area.
Well, for more on this, we're now joined by CGTN's Noor Harazin in Gaza. Noor, to begin with, can you just give us an update on the situation in Gaza at the moment and any details on casualties?
Well, it is one serious escalation between the Palestinians and Israel. Over the past 12 hours, we have been hearing bombardments here in Gaza, rockets being fired and airstrikes being launched on the Gaza Strip. We've seen also people standing in front of bakeries, many people trying to buy as much flour and bread as they can because they do expect an upcoming war between Israel and the Palestinians. The hospitals in Gaza have declared emergency status, and also the Palestinian Health Ministry stated that over the past 24 hours, 6 Palestinians were killed, including a 14-month Palestinian toddler. She's a girl that was killed almost an hour ago by an Israeli airstrike, and more than 60 people were injured.
Certainly a very dramatic escalation in tension there. Can you just talk us through the events leading up to this latest flare-up?
Well, it all started back on Friday, yesterday, during the Great Return March protests, where Palestinians are known to head to the border line and protest, and clashes erupted between Palestinians and the Israeli forces. 2 Palestinians were killed, and at the time, Palestinian fighters attacked a group of Israeli soldiers close to the border between Gaza and Israel. 2 Israeli soldiers were injured, and since then the escalation started. when the Israeli warplanes started targeting farms and resistance sites here in the Gaza Strip, and also the Palestinian fighters started launching rockets toward settlements in southern Israel.
And we know, of course, that a Hamas delegation has headed to Egypt to discuss a truce with Israel. Is there much confidence at this point that Egypt can bring these two warring sides together?
Well, over the past years, Egypt has played a big role in bringing the two parties, Israel and the Palestinian resistance groups here in Gaza, to a long-term or a short-term truce and ceasefires. So the people do have hope that this time also Egypt will succeed in bringing a truce to the people of Gaza, especially that it is Yahya Sinwar from Hamas and also Ziad al-Nakhala from the Islamic Jihad who left Gaza for Egypt in order to see this latest round of delegations between Israel and the Palestinian resistance groups, and they hope that Egypt will succeed also this time.
Noor Harazin, thank you so much joining us there live from Gaza. Well, staying with this story, let's now go live to Tel Aviv. CGTN's Stephanie Freed is standing by with an update from Israel. Stephanie, to begin with, we know, of course, this has been a very dramatic escalation in violence over a rather short period of time. How have people in Tel Aviv reacted to this latest flare-up in violence?
Well, first of all, I have to step in and correct. I'm on the border here with Gaza. That's Gaza behind me, but I'm on the Israel side. So just to clarify, in terms of Israelis in general, there's a lot of concern on Saturday about this flare-up. There's a lot of worry because the sense basically is that the advantage right now is in Gaza's court, or Hamas, Islamic Jihad, that advantage is with the other side. And that's because right now Israel's headed into a week where there's Independence Day. In about 10 days, Israel is hosting the Eurovision Song Contest, which is prestigious, and about 10,000 people, tourists, are expected to come in. So the last thing Israel wants right now is an escalation as tourists are about to come over, a cancellation of this event. They're well aware of that, the powers that be in Gaza. A lot of concern on the part of Israelis that this could escalate if it isn't resolved. Lindy?
And so, of course, that's the big question. What is Israel going to do to try and resolve this escalation? We know that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was due to convene a meeting with security chiefs on Saturday to discuss the situation. Do we have any details of that meeting?
That's right. And he did meet with security. He will be meeting with his security again on Sunday. What is coming out of the Prime Minister's office at the moment is that there is an expectation that there could be a further escalation, that this could continue for several days, and there's a warning, an expectation that also there are warnings coming from Gaza about striking back hard, striking back deeper into Israel. There's a concern that possibly rockets could be fired onto Tel Aviv. That would absolutely, that Eurovision Song Contest that I talked about, that would be a deal breaker for the song contest, certainly for Israelis, for Israel's government. Some reservists are apparently being called up. That's what we know. We'll know more on Sunday after the Security Cabinet meets again. Also, there are rumors out of Egypt that possibly there's work over time to strike a ceasefire deal to this latest escalation. Whether that's going to happen, it doesn't look like it at the moment, but certainly there is work that's being done, negotiations with the sides, indirect, to try and get some resolution, certainly, Lindy.
Indeed, some of that work that's being done towards a resolution involves Egypt. We know that a Hamas delegation has headed towards Egypt. What's the sentiment in Israel with regards to that? Because we know, of course, that Israel has previously rejected a peace deal brokered by Egypt.
Well, you know, it's a matter of who you are talking to inside of Israel. And if you're talking about the people, there's one side of Israel that says, hit Gaza hard, wipe out Gaza. That's a very right-wing sentiment, which is go in with the army, hit full force. There's another side that says, look, realistically, year after year and escalation after escalation, we keep seeing the same rounds over and over and over again, and nothing is getting resolved. So Israelis, in terms of sentiment, certainly the latest election in Israel proved that more and more Israelis are going further right, so more and more Israelis would probably favor some sort of military action in Gaza. But again, and we've got a rocket that looks like it's coming in now, but again, it's a matter of who you talk to, and it's a matter of policy. And right now, as we're seeing with these rounds of escalations that continue over and over again, the policy doesn't seem to be working. Lindy.
Stephanie Fried, thanks for your reporting there from the Israeli side of Gaza. Thank you so much. Now, turning to some other news, let's go to South Sudan. The country's government is urging international donors to financially support the country's peace process. This comes as the parties to the peace agreement agreed to delay forming a unity government by 6 more months due to a lack of progress in security sector reforms. CGTN's Patrick Oyet has more.
South Sudan's peace deal dictates that a unity government be formed by 12 May 2019. It would be exactly 8 months since the country's peace deal was signed, but now an extension of the pre-interim period is adding 6 more months to the process. The signatories to the agreement say the delay to form a unity government is to allow for security sector reforms to be carried out. South Sudan's government says the lack of progress in the security sector reforms is as a result of lack of funds. President Kiir's government is urging international donors to financially support implementation of the deal. The East African Regional Body, the Intergovernmental Authority on Development, or IGAD, is overseeing the peace process. IGAD mediators say they will now present the position of the former warring factions on the extension of the pre-interim period to the Council of Ministers. The Council of Ministers meeting is scheduled for Monday in South Sudan's capital, Juba. Now that a delay has been agreed, analysts warn it will only help if parties to the peace agreement commit to fully implement it. Patrick Oyet, CGTN, Juba, South Sudan.
Well, time now for a short break. Here's what's still ahead on the program.
If no be you, then tell me who. Them go sempe, them go sempe.
Nigerian artist Tiwa Savage signs with Universal Music Group.
How will your world change today? What happens here? What happens there? Or what you make happen for yourself? If it matters to you, it matters to us too. Your stories are the stories that need to be told. Africa Live. Find your voice. Africa Live. Find your voice.
As South Africans prepare for national elections, political parties are winding up their election campaigns around the country. The 3 biggest parties are holding their final rallies in Johannesburg this weekend. Thousands gathered in Dobsonville Stadium in Soweto to hear the opposition Democratic Alliance's last push for votes. Angela Coppola reports.
The Democratic Alliance party faithful gathered in Soweto to hear their leader talk about change.
South Africa, this is our moment to step out of our comfort zone. We're going to look to the future now. And on Wednesday, we're going to make a brave choice on Wednesday. We want to think about our children when we vote on Wednesday. But above all, we're going to be brave for our people. I'm not telling you it's going to be easy, but I'm telling you it's going to be worth it.
While the country's president has initiated the Zondo Commission of Inquiry into state capture, voters are impatient. They've had enough.
ANC is very corrupt, so we are tired of living hell. ANC is hell. We are looking for a change. What a change?
One of the other issues facing South Africa is unemployment. Many have completed school and tertiary education and have nothing to show for it.
I'm a youth who's well educated, but even though since I've completed my matric and post my matric, I realized that I went to school for nothing. So for the waste of time that I realized that DA can do what is best for us youth.
The DA campaign theme has been one of change. It's resonated with a broad spectrum of South Africans.
I'm going for the DA because I'm confidently believing that the DA is going to bring a change in the South Africa. And nothing more, nothing less.
The DA is hoping that there are many people that were in the ANC have decided to vote for the DA because they want change. We'll see what happens on the 8th of May. I'm Angelo Coppola for CGTN in Johannesburg, South Africa.
The third edition of China Trade Week has taken place in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. The three-day fair, which kicked off on Thursday, attracted more than 100 exhibitors. Ethiopian Ministry of Trade and Industry says there were more than 400 Chinese investments in Ethiopia recently, valued at over $4 billion US. This, the ministry says, has in turn created more than 100,000 jobs for locals. The exhibition hopes to create opportunities for local and regional businesses to develop direct trading links with high-end Chinese producers.
In response to the international One Belt, One Road initiative, we asked ourselves, what can SMEs do and what can private companies do? So we created a platform such as the China Trade Week so that SMEs have the opportunity to go to the African market like those big enterprises.
The road belt, more trade, more investment, more interaction, more networking, big business, and it's big opportunity. It's a big initiative that will really support Africa.
14 cholera cases have been confirmed in northern Mozambique following floods caused by a powerful cyclone that battered the country last week. Here's CGTN's Susan Mongeli with more.
This is just part of the carnage left behind by Cyclone Kenneth. Thousands have lost their homes, belongings and livelihoods. Kenneth was one of the strongest storms recorded in mainland Africa. Although the area it hit this time round was less populated than other parts of Mozambique, the damage and flooding along its path has been immense. The storm claimed 38 lives. More than 160,000 others have been directly affected, that's according to the United Nations. 4 people died in the island nation of Comoros. There are concerns of disease after authorities confirmed 14 cholera cases in the city of Pemba and neighboring district of Mesufi. Kenneth is the second powerful tropical storm to hit Southeast Africa in 5 weeks. Experts fear it could continue to dump torrential rains on an area still reeling from the devastation left behind by Cyclone Idai. Susan Mongeli, CGTN.
To Tunisia now, creating museums, safeguarding their collections and developing new methods to promote Tunisia's rich history. These are among the top priorities of the Ministry of Culture in the North African state. Tunisian authorities assert that safeguarding their heritage is a national priority, especially after the Notre Dame Cathedral fire in France. Here's Adnan Chouachi with more.
There are over 10,000 archaeological and historical sites as well as monuments in Tunisia. The National Heritage Institute is in charge of the preservation, protection and restoration of archaeological sites, historical monuments and traditional urban ensembles.
Our role is to organize and undertake research, search, inventory and exploration in the areas of archaeological, historical and civilization through the different periods. Preventing a catastrophe like the fire of Notre Dame Cathedral in France is our responsibility.
The Institute also collects the traditional heritage in folk arts. It undertakes all the research, preservation, protection, restoration and exhibition.
We show the civilization value of historical documents, science and art, manuscripts which date back to thousands of years and printed materials.
Authorities have launched the International Center for Digital Cultural Economy. The research institute is located at Tunisia's prestigious culture city. Its objective is to valorize innovative cultural projects and the country's rich heritage.
Researchers, historians, academics, and engineers from different fields are working together to protect and safeguard cultural heritage in 3D. Rely on Tunisian skills and expertise for this ambitious project.
Tunisia's Digital Heritage Project will present the country's most important museums to the world. Virtual tours will be made at the Bardo Museum, which has the world's largest collection of mosaics. The initiative will include other museums and historical monuments.
History plays an important part in Tunisia's tourism industry. The North African state has managed to preserve a large amount of its renowned historic attractions. Here at Culture City and in each region, visitors can discover the rich history of Carthage, Rome, and many other civilizations. Adnan Shawishi, CGTN, Tunis.
Nigerian singer-songwriter Tiwa Savage recently landed a global deal with Universal Music Group. She becomes the first African artist to sign such a major deal. As one of the world's leading Afrobeats artists, Tiwa says the recording agreement will propel African music further.
I'm just waiting for her.
This is Tiwa Tope Savage, popularly known as Tiwa Savage. Her music has been making waves for a while now. The 39-year-old was born in Lagos, but spent part of her childhood in London with her mother, where she experienced many of her early musical influences. Today, she's the first African artist to sign a major deal with Universal Music Group, a deal that will help her music reach new audiences in over 60 countries.
It's very exciting. The support and the love is overwhelming. It's an exciting time, and I'm very humbled and very excited that they are backing my brand. It's explosive. It's there's a revolution going on, the music is spreading not only to Africans in the diaspora, but non-Africans. And even though they don't understand the language necessarily, but they can feel the soul in the music.
UMG is Tiwa's major music deal ever, but she's had a colorful past. In November 2018, she became the first woman to win the MTV Europe Music Award for Best African Art. And a month later, Savage was chosen by Coldplay's Chris Martin to perform at Global Citizen Festival in Johannesburg. Despite breaking boundaries, Savage acknowledges that it's been tough working in a male-dominated industry.
Sometimes you want to rush back home to your son, and you're on tour, and he's at that age now where I can't really take him out of school as often as I would love to. So yeah, it is tough, but I do believe as women we are a lot stronger than what we give ourselves credit for. So it's not anything I can't handle.
Tiwa now joins South Africa rapper Casper Nyovest at the major label, who signed with UMG back in 2018. And with this, she's likely to disrupt the music ecosystem more than she's ever done. Chomwono, CGTN.
Let's take a short break. Here's what's coming up in your sports news. The English Premier League race for the top four finish heats up as nine-man Tottenham fall to Bournemouth.
Africa, where champions are made, records are broken, legends are born. We're there for every goal, for every knockout, for every step of the way. Match Point, only on CGTN.
Africa Live. Find your voice.
We begin with African football. It will be an all-North African affair in the final of the CAF Champions League between Esperance of Tunisia and Wydad Casablanca of Morocco. Defending champions Esperance de Tunis held TP Mazembe to a second-leg barren draw in Lubumbashi to win the tie 1-0 on aggregate in the semi-final of the CAF Champions League. Elsewhere, 2016 champions Mamelodi Sundowns failed to overturn a 2-1 first-leg deficit against Wydad Casablanca in Pretoria in the other semi-final. Esperance and Wydad are the two previous winners of the CAF Champions League, with the Tunisian outfit winning a total of 3 titles, while the Moroccan side has scooped 2. In athletics, Africans dominated the opening Diamond League meet of the season in Doha on Friday night. Botswana's Nigel Amos claimed top honours in the men's 800 metres race with a world-leading time of 1 minute 44.29 seconds. Kenya's Emmanuel Korir finished second, with Donovan Brazier of the USA in third. Elijah Manongoi of Kenya led a Kenyan clean sweep in the men's 1,500 metre, with Timothy Cheruiyot finishing second and Bethel Bergen in third. In the women's 3,000 metres, Kenya's Helen Obiri outsprinted Ethiopian Genzebe Dibabe to the finish line to claim gold. This was Obiri's 6th consecutive victory in a race. Lillian Rangiruk of Kenya finished third in that same race. Now in football, 9-man Tottenham Hotspurs have failed to seal their spot in next season's UEFA Champions League after losing 1-0 at Bournemouth. Nathan Ake headed home the winner in the 91st minute to condemn Mauricio Pochettino's men to a third successive defeat in all competitions.